Hey guys, this is Sanam and welcome back to my channel Public Void Geek. I'm sorry I did not upload this video and it took me a long time between part 3 and part 4 because I got an eye infection, but here we are. So let's little bit talk about what we did in part 3. So we added location and we were pulling down the current weather from our API. We were passing our location values to the API, and then we were downloading the data and displaying it in our app. Whereas in this video, part 4, we'll be doing the forecast weather. So we'll be displaying the data for next 10 days for a particular location, and we'll put it in a table view, and we'll be using Alamofire this time without Swifty JSON. So let's get started. Alright, so we have our app here, and you can see the current weather is coming up. It's showing in our app with the date and everything. So let's go back to openweathermap.website from where we are downloading the data, and they have a API which says 16-day slash daily forecast, right? So you can get a daily forecast for next 16 days. So let's go to API doc, and we'll be using a similar API endpoint like we were using before. We'll be passing the coordinates right over here, and the parameters will be lat, long, and the count, which is for the number of days. So they allow from 1 to 16, 1 being today and 16 being the 16th day from today, right? So we'll be using count of 10 and we'll be displaying it in our app. Right, so let's copy this and let's go back to our app, and let's make a separate API URL for forecast. So let's call it forecast underscore API underscore URL. Let's put HTTP. For lat and long, let's leave it like this for now. 10 days is also okay, but we need to put our app ID as well. So we can just copy it from here. And there we go. So we have our forecast API URL. Now let's go back to main.storyboard and let's set up our table view. All right, let's go here. Let's say table view. Bring it to the edges and right over here, and let's say 50 from top, 0, 0, 0. And then let's go down and set the background to clear color. All right, let's add a prototype cell as well. This much, 70 is okay, I guess. We'll change the height later on. Clear color as well. And all we need to show here is the day and the temperature, right? So two labels. So first one is going to be here and second one is going to be here, and the mouse is not working again. So let's try. Let's do Command T. Let's do it. Alright, so this one is gonna be, let's say, Monday, and this one is gonna be 20 degrees. And let's set the font, which was Arial, rounded, empty. Height should be 22, 25 is okay. Center, and change it to white. This one, or let's not change it to white for now, we'll change it later on. Dark gray.
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
That was Alexa getting mad at me. Alexa, stop. Right, let's let's do command equal. All right, let's align this as well. So let's give it the from left. Let's give it a spacing of 10 and height of 30 should be fine. Or let's not give a height, 10, and then align it vertically in the container. And this one center vertically and 10. So we have this. Um, Even if we try to run it, it won't show anything because we have not yet set up the data source and the delegate of our table view. So let's do that. But in before that, we need to give our table view cell an ID so that we can call it. So the use identifier. Let's say forecast cell. That's fine. And let's go back to view controller.swift, holding Alt or Option. Let's do a couple of things. We need to create the IB outlets, so let's do that. Uh, we'll put our table view IP outlet here. So let's call it table view, and rest of the IB outlets we'll put it in a view for our table view. So let's call it. Let's create a new file and let's say Coco Touch class forecast cell and UI table view cell. That's what we need. Create, and we have this. Let's do outlets, and let's put, and it won't work because we need to go back to our table view cell and give it a class of forecast cell, and now we should be able to use these labels. So this one is called forecast temp for temperature and forecast day. And let's, while we are here, we should also set up a function which will update the UI or which will pass the values to the UI. So let's call it configure func configure cell, right? And all we need to do is temp of type int and day of type string. This is what we need to do for now. We will change it later on. So let's do it. Configure cell self dot forecast day dot text is equal to day. Should be like this. And self dot forecast temp dot text is equal to temp, right? We will be changing this. It's not gonna go like this. We'll be using our custom class, but we'll go on to that later on. Let's first just try to do the MVP. That is, let's just try to show some data over here and let's see our table view is working fine or not. Right, and then let's go to our view controller.swift. We have an error. All right, so we have, what we have done is we added an outlet of table view cell, but what we wanted to do is actually create an outlet of table view, not the cell. So let's go back to this. Let's go here and remove this and create again table view, and let's call it table view. This should fix the error. So let's do command build and let's see, it should be working now, right? All right, so let's go back to our call delegates function and let's say table view dot delegate self and table view dot data source is equal to self. And let's go down and let's create the extension of our view controller, UI table view delegate and UI table view data source. So it gives an error saying that table view does not confirm to UI table view. That's correct. We have not yet confirmed to the protocol. So let's do that. Uh, First one is number of sections, and let's return 1. So we'll have only one section. Then cell for row at. We're gonna come back here later on. So let's put later. And then number of rows in section, let's return 1 for now. And it says the return. So uh, let's fix this. So let's say let cell is equal to table view dot tq reusable cell with identifier, and the identifier is the cell identifier that we set, which was right over here, forecast cell, right? And let's put it here as, or this one is also fine because we have our forecast cell, and then return cell, and let's say cell dot configure cell, let's say 10 and Saturday. What happened? Should be fine now. Let's try to run and see if it works. Alright, so you can see our table view is there. It's showing the data. So let's fix some of the UI stuff that we are seeing here. So first thing is the lines over here, the small lines that we are seeing. Let's try to remove that. We don't want any selection as well, so let's do that. Separator none and selection no selection. Alright, so you can see our line, the small lines that were coming over here, which were the separator line, is gone already. And if we select this particular cell, there is no highlight. So let's also fix the background now. Let's set this to clear color and let's try to run it. So all we did is we set the clear color for table view and clear color for our forecast cell. And let's also change the text color. Let's change it back to white and this one as well to white. And while we are here, we should also increase the top margin. So let's do that as well, because it's coming quite near to the clouds and I don't like that. If you like it, you can keep it like that as well. So top, let's set it to 60. Alright, so our table view is there. We have the data as well. Now let's try to pull out the data from our API and let's see that our API is working or not. So for this, we'll be creating another class file, something similar to our current weather, where we are pulling the weather and putting it over here. But in our forecast weather, we have only two things to display. One is the day or the date, and the other one is the temperature. So only two things. We don't need weather type, we don't need the city name, we don't need the complete date actually. So just two things, date and the day, I mean date and the temperature. So that's what we are gonna create now. And also one thing, that since it's gonna create since we need to display the data for 10 days, so we will not pull down the data from our model class, but I'm going to show you how we will do it. So let's work on it now. So let's go to model and new file, and let's say Swift file. Let's call it forecast weather. right? So we have one class for current weather, one for location, and one for forecast weather. So let's get into it. Class forecast weather, and we don't need to inherit anything. So we only need two things. One is private var um, date underscore date, which will take a string, and private var underscore temp, and it will be of type double. So nothing new. We have done this before as well, date and temp, and we're doing the same thing. Just that this time it's gonna use a different URL, right? All right. So let's head back to Chrome and let's try to open this API, or let's try to hit this API and let's see what happens. And let's do this. All right. So you can see. Let's do like this. Right. So we have data like this. We have city, right? Shoes NG, Japan, and then we have the list, which further has, let's do this, close, close, close. So we have 10 items here because of our count over here, right? So inside this, the data is again pretty much similar. The array is the dictionary is pretty much similar. So we have date, and then we need inside temp, we need datetime. So these are the two things that we need, right? So let's go back here, and as I said, we will not be pulling down the data over here. uh, the data will be downloaded somewhere else, not somewhere else, in our view controller. We will be pulling it down in our view controller, and then we will map it to our this class file and put the data inside this class file, right? So let's set up the initializer for our class file, so that uh, there should be a default initializer since the data is coming from some other file. So let's call it weather dictionary, and this dictionary is gonna be of type dictionary, which will take of type string and any object. Let's set up this initializer in a couple of minutes. Let's go back to our view controller.swift and let's try to set up our API to download the data. So we'll be using Alamofire here. Inside variables, let's create a variable for our class. So let's call it forecast weather of type forecast weather, and an array which will hold the weather data. So let's call it forecast array of type. Since it's an array, so we'll do it like this, an empty array of type forecast weather. Let's go down here and let's uh, call our function, or let's set up our function, which is download forecast weather. So this is the place where we are actually going to download our data, right? So let's set it up, and we'll be using Alamofire. So let's do Alamofire dot request. The process is pretty much the same, just that we need to use different API, which is forecast underscore API underscore URL dot response of JSON completion handler, and we are gonna get a response out of it. And let's try to print our response. So it's gonna give the same thing like last time. Let's also call it download forecast weather. So you can see our data is coming down right over here. It's the same data that was getting displayed in our Chrome. This is what we need, and we need to do two things now in this function. First is to set our completion handler like the way we did for our current weather, and we also need to uh, store this data somewhere so that we can start utilizing it, right? So let's set up the um, completion handler first. So let's call it completed at escaping and download complete. So this is our completion handler, and response is already there. So let's say let result. So you'll see the pattern is pretty much the same. So let result is equal to response dot result. If we go over here, this is the response, which is actually a dictionary, and inside this dictionary we need to go inside list, right? List is an array, and inside this array we have further dictionary, right? So we need to map it accordingly. So first thing is uh, if let dictionary. So first thing is the dictionary. This one is the dictionary, and inside this dictionary we need to go inside this array. So let's go to that dictionary first. If let dictionary is equal to result dot value as. So this is where the part of Alamofire, when we are not using Swifty JSON, this is what happens. So we need to give all of this detail, if let, and then type, and then all that stuff, which was handled automatically in Swifty JSON. So string of any object, string and any object, and then inside this dictionary we need to go to our array, which is called list. So I will also call it list. If let list and then dictionary, let's cast it as an array. Since it's an array, this list is an array, and within this array it's a dictionary of string and any object. So let's do that. It's a dictionary of string and any object. So now we are inside this list, right? And within this list we need to go through each dictionary and then map out the values. Alright, so let me explain this again. So what we did is we created a dictionary which will hold all of this data, right from this curly braces till here. Everything will be inside this dictionary, right? Now once we are inside this dictionary, we need to go to this and this particular value, which is list, right? And I created this, I called it list, and then this object, we are reaching to this list object right over here, which is actually an array, right? So I casted it as an array, and within an array, what type of array it is? It's an array of type dictionary. So I created a dictionary, and then this dictionary is of type string and any object. So I created string and any object, right? So now we are here inside this list item. We have 10 items over here, right, that we need to iterate, and we need to store them in our array. So let's say we can use a for loop here. So let's say for item in list, for each item in the list we will do let forecast is equal to forecast weather, which will take a dictionary of string and any object. That's why we created right over here, if you see forecast weather, we created the initializer which will take a dictionary of type string and any object. So if we go here where it requires dictionary of type string and any object, so we'll give it the item, right? So each item will go inside that class of ours, and let's say self dot forecast array dot append, and let's append the forecast. So now in that array, the array that we created over here, we are storing the forecast. So this each item is going inside the array, right? So this, let's say this one is today, this one is tomorrow, and then third day, fourth day. So this is going to be 0th element, the first element, the second element, the third. The whole dictionary itself is going to be inside an array. We will do self dot table view dot reload data, and here we will say completed. So after the data is completed, we'll do a check mark over here. If we try to run this right now, it probably won't work because we are not mapping few things. So let's go back to our forecast weather and start setting up this initializer. So if let uh, temp, so temperature is gonna be weather dect, the this particular weather dect. Our temp is inside, so we are already here, so it will be inside the temp, and again as dictionary of type string and any object, because temp again has a dictionary. So if we open it, that's what we need. So if let temp this and this, inside temp we need if let a temp is equal to temp, and then call it day as double. And then once we have day temp, we will do let, and right over here we'll say if let date is equal to weather date, and the key is dt, which is again dictionary of type string and any object, right? It's a dictionary, right? No, dt is not a dictionary, so no, should be double, and self dot uh, underscore date is equal to date, right? So now whatever value we are uh, putting in that array, we are mapping that value from our array to our class file, and now we will pull it from our class file to our forecast cell. So as I said, we will be changing this, so now it's the time, let's change it as well. So what this one will take is forecast data of type forecast weather, like this. So forecast data will take forecast weather, and right over here we will say forecast data dot this is the date, and forecast data dot temp, and this, let's go back to our view controller dot swift, and let's call this function now. So let's say download, and let's say print data download it. And let's try to run this. And it gives an error because because our configure cell has changed. The function has changed now. So cell.configure cell, and the data it needs is the array forecast array of index path dot row. So this is what we need to do. I think this one should work now, but let's see. I think it might not work. Yeah, it crashed because we did something wrong again. Number of rows in section. So how many rows there should be? So we need to do it to forecast array dot count. So whatever the count of array, that many rows we need in our table view. Let's try to run it and let's see. Perfect. So we have the data for 10 days. This one is in kelvins. This one is in the Unix format. So we need to change it. So let's go back to our model class. I'm in the forecast weather. So for weather, it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. So let's do that. So let's say raw value is equal to day temp minus 273.15 dot rounded to 0, and then raw value should be here. So let's check this out right over here, and something similar to what we did in our current weather, so that the decimal goes away. So 10 8 8 8 8 7. So we have this, and let's also try to fix the day. So in order to do that, let's go back to forecast weather. So let raw date is equal to date and time interval since 1970, and let's call it date. Let's put the value of date, and let's say let date formatter is equal to date formatter this function, and date formatter dot date style is equal to dot medium, and now draw date dot day of the week. So this day of the week is coming from our extension that we created right over here. So let's try to run this and let's see if it works. Right, so Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. But there is one problem. Today is Saturday and it is showing the weather as well. Current temperature is already visible, or we can already see that, right? So we don't want to show this in our table view. So let's go back to our view controller.swift, and right over here you can say self forecast array dot remove at 0. So the very first element or the 0th element is the current day, so we don't want that in our table view. So we start from tomorrow: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right, and Sunday. You can go to our extras, and then right over here, also one more thing, this temperature is different because uh, I just noticed that we are not uh, using the current location. So let's also do this. So for latitude it's gonna be here, and the longitude is gonna be right over here. Let's try to run this, and it found nil because if we go to our view controller, let's see where did we put our. So this is the problem. We should not have put it in view did load. We should have put it in view did appear, and let's try to run this. So until unless we don't have the values, the locational values, it will crash. Right? We are trying to pull down the data without even getting the location. And let me show that this thing. Let's try to comment this and let's see. So you can see Saturday, it's the same temperature that it is showing right now over here, but we don't want to show the same temperature. That's why we are removing this. And let's try to run it. Also head back to extras and let's reduce the count 10 to, let's say, 8. So now we have Sunday to Saturday, 1 week of data of our location, and if you try to run it on your device, it will give you the location uh, from your place as well. Alright guys, thank you for watching the video. Please like, comment and share this video, and if you like this video, do not forget to subscribe the channel. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, bye bye.